guys, it's Jess from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with my favorite enemies to lovers romances. This is probably one of the most popular tropes in romance. I feel like people love a good hate to love romance. The hating game, everybody's obsessed with, and there are some other ones that I have on my list. I did do this video 2 years ago when I was first reading the hating game, so I'll leave that link down below that has some of my favorites, like some Penelope Douglas books. I have not repeated any from that video, but it's about time I did another one of these, so if you want to check out that one, link it down below. But these are some of my favorite enemies to lovers romances I've read since then, and they kind of were inspired by a book I recently read, so I'll go ahead and get to the recommendations for you. I actually read an arc of this book from Berkeley Romance, but then sent it off to a friend who was dying to read it, and so I didn't need my arc anymore after reading it. But the book I am going to talk about is Well Met by Jen DeLuca. This one has been pretty hyped recently of anticipation because it comes out in September, I think, and this is about a Renaissance fair. So our main character, Emily, is spending the summer taking care of her sister and her sister's teenage daughter because her sister and her daughter were in a car accident, and her sister shattered her leg, so she is in rehab and having to just get better from her surgery. And our main character is kind of lost. She just broke up with a boyfriend she's had for quite a few years, and she doesn't have a job, so she's living with her sister, and she drives her niece, I guess, to volunteer at a Renaissance fair, and if you're underage you have to have an adult there with you volunteering. And so Emily is dragged into volunteering, and she's actually a tavern wench, and Simon is the guy who puts it on. He is just very serious and mean to her, and she doesn't know why, so she immediately hates him. Simon's actually an English teacher, and he's running the fair, and I can't tell you what he is. It's a surprise what he is, and I loved it so much. And this book is so good. I gave it 4.5 stars, almost a 5-star read. I thought it was a little bit too insta-lovey, but they did a really, really good job creating that chemistry between them, so that's why it's 4.5. It's really almost a 5-star read for me, but I loved their chemistry. Their bantering was hilarious. I loved our main character and how much she grew and learned about herself, and how much Simon kind of grew and learned about himself too. Such a fun enemies to lovers. Kind of a workplace romance. Definitely check it out. The next one I have for you is another book that I got from Berkeley, but I read it last year, I believe, and that's Fight or Flight by Samantha Young. There's a lot of people who hate this. I love it because you do have a really domineering, mean alpha male in this, and I like those, especially because he's Scottish. Like, oh my gosh. I'm obsessed with Outlander, if you didn't know. Jamie Fraser is my one true love, so of course I love a big brooding Scotsman to be our alpha hero. And in this one, our main characters meet on a flight, and he pretty much cuts her in line, takes her first class seat, and she hates him, and then they have a layover together, kind of end up spending the night together, and then they run in to each other. So yeah, he's definitely not a very happy-go-lucky guy. He is irritated by a lot, but I love this book so much. I had such a fun time reading it. If you like that kind of just standoffish male character that ends up falling in love, you would love this book. I know I talked about this book quite a bit recently, but I just can't not talk about it in this video, and that is The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. This one's super hype on BookTube for a good reason, because this one's about a girl who's a fashion blogger. I believe she just got laid off from her job, and her dad's dying, and he lives in Alaska, and she hasn't seen him since she was younger, and her mom had to leave Alaska because she couldn't deal with life in Alaska, so she took her daughter with her and left her husband, and so her dad is an Alaskan pilot. She decides to go and spend time with him because she just figured out he's dying, and runs into a brooding, angry pilot who immediately hates her. Immediately they butt heads, but they have such insane chemistry, and there's a reason he doesn't like her, and he is just an amazing character. So this one definitely has hate to love, but you are so into the romance and you love it so much, and both characters again really grow, just like I talked about in the first book, Well Met, and it's just so good. And if you like the Alaskan ambiance, you would love this book. The next book I have for you is A Surviving Trace by Kalia Reed. This one is not just contemporary, it's time traveling, and our main character finds herself in the early 1900s around the Titanic time, and she wakes up married to this man who hates her guts, and she's like, I don't know who you are, I don't know where I am, what's going on. It's even a different state than where she was before. She owns an antique shop in the present, and she found this picture, and she saw the man she was dreaming about the night before in the picture, and then finds herself time traveling, and that man she saw is her present husband, and so she's actually engaged in the present and married to a man who hates her in the past, and she has no idea what's going on. Obviously, sparks start flying, and he kind of warms up to her, even though he hated her guts, as she was not as his wife before she entered the body. It's a little confusing to explain, but love this book, love book 2, and I had to read book 3 because it recently came out and I have the paperback, but I haven't read it yet. But these are such good time traveling romances, such a good hate to love in the first book. You will be dying over Etienne so much like I did, and you will want them to be together. The next book I completely forgot to include on my Forbidden Romance video, and that is A Nordic King by Karina Halley. I read this because everybody was raving about it, and they were so right. This is about a king who lost his wife, and so he is raising his 2 daughters on his own, and they're interviewing nannies for the position to take care of his daughters while he does like king stuff, and he feels a lot of regret over losing his wife because he was there when it happened, and he doesn't like our main character coming in and interviewing for the position. She is already a nanny, and so she's called in to interview for the job, and she doesn't know who it's for, and he sees her, takes one look at her, and says, no. We know it's because he's instantly attracted to her, and he obviously doesn't want some really attractive woman working with his daughters when he's still guilty over losing his wife. And so it's so good. He is so resistant towards her because of that attraction. I love it when it's a hate to love because they hate that they're attracted to them and want to be with them, so they be mean to them to push them away. That's what this one is. It's so good. It's an age gap romance, forbidden romance, because she's the nanny and he's the king. So good if you want that kind of enemies to lovers. The next one I have is another super hype book on book 2, but for a good reason again, and that's the Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. This one is definitely much tamer than the other ones I've talked about. There's not a lot of steamy scenes in here. They are a lot of fade to black, so if that's your thing, go for this book. This one is definitely hate to love. Our main character absolutely hates her sister's fiance's brother, and so her sister and her sister's fiance are getting married, and at the wedding there is a really bad seafood buffet and everybody gets food poisoning except for our main character and the groom's brother. They hate each other, but guess what? They have to go on the honeymoon together because their siblings have food poisoning, and the main character's sister actually won the honeymoon, so she can't like reschedule or give it to someone, so she has to pretend to be her sister. They're twins, so it's not too hard, and the brother of the groom has to pretend to be the groom, so they have to pretend to be married. So it's a fake dating, enemies to lovers, traveling romance. Oh, it's so good. I laughed out loud in this. It was so cute, so fun, perfect summer read, perfect angsty enemies to lovers book. The next one I have for you is Top Secret by Elle Kennedy and Serena Bowen. This one is an MM romance that they kind of just dropped on us earlier this year, and this is about the guy who's running to be president of the fraternity, and it's a college romance, and his girlfriend of quite a few years wants to spice up their relationship, so he goes on an app to find someone to help them spice things up and starts talking to this guy, and he starts kind of getting confused because he's like, I really like talking to this guy and things are not staying PG, and I've got a girlfriend and I've always been straight, so he's super confused about that. It ends up that he's talking to his suite mate and enemy of the fraternity, so he's like, oh my god, like what? And so he like instantly pushes him away, but there's undeniable chemistry and it's just so good, and there's a reason why they don't like each other, and I really loved how different yet similar both of our main characters were. So good, and it was so funny because you know that they're hating on each other in real life, but then you know they're talking to each other in the app and they don't know they're talking to each other, and so you're just like waiting for things to like come to light and you can't wait to see how they turn out. It was so good. I love this. Really, really great enemies to lovers. The next one I've talked about a lot recently. It was also my Forbidden Romance video, but sorry, and that is Pestilence by Laura Thalassa. This one is definitely enemies to lovers because she tries to kill him in the beginning of the book, and she like literally sets him on fire. So he is Pestilence, and it's the 4 horsemen. The apocalypse has happened. He was sent to destroy humanity, so he runs around making everyone sick. She's a firefighter and draws a short straw and has to kill him when he comes by, so she does, and he can't die, so he takes her as prisoner and they start falling in love, but she definitely hates him in the beginning. He hates her in the beginning because she's just another pesky, annoying human who's trying to kill him and literally set him on fire, and it kind of hurt. Even though he can't die, he can still feel pain, so it was really good, and it was so cute watching them like realize they cared about each other. and trying to survive. So I really love this. If you like post-apocalyptic, you have to read this. And the last book I have for you is The Pretty Reckless by L.J. Shen. Pretty much any L.J. Shen book you can read for enemies to lovers. I do want to say L.J. Shen has changed the cover. She's also offering this one, but I guess people have an issue with him smoking on the cover. So she made a new one to offer online, and I just don't, like, it's fiction. I get smoking's disgusting. I really can't stand when people smoke around me or smell like smoke. Smoking literally causes you to die. There's scientific proof of that. But it's like the James Dean Rebel Without a Cause. Like, he's a bad boy with a cigarette. Get over it. Like, it's fine. But she has an alternate cover of him, of a man not smoking with this, but I like this one better because it actually embodies the bad boy trope that L.J. Shen writes. But this one is enemies to lovers. Our main character and the love interest meet when she is at her dance studio because her mother is a ballerina. She's actually the mom from the prequel Defy for the Vicious series, Sinners of Saints series. Vicious is book 1. Defy was the novella before that, and she hates her biggest competition, who her mom has just like fawns over and has helped getting really prestigious ballet like school training, and so she ends up sabotaging that girl, and the guy has something to do with it. And we flash forward a few years and they are thrown back together again and they hate each other. So very angsty, very enemies to lovers. There were a couple things that the main character did that really annoyed me, like she trusted someone for no reason at all and it was obvious what was going to happen. But other than that, the romance itself was really angsty and really good, and I really loved just the hatred they had, but they had this huge secret together and they obviously really like each other. So if you want an enemies to lovers like that, read L.J. Shen, definitely. Vicious is a really good enemies to lovers. Haven't read the rest of that series, but also Midnight Blue is another rock star enemies to lovers, so that's really good too. And those are some of my favorite enemies to lovers that I think you guys would enjoy. I got a different variety of genre, whether it's new adult or post-apocalyptic or time traveling, whatever you like, there is something for you. Let me know down below your favorite enemies to lovers books that I haven't read yet, or maybe I have read them, I don't know, but recommend them down below. And that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.